Hey everybody, how are you doing today? I hope that this day finds you nice and warm and safe inside your home. And I actually kind of hope that outside your home is uneventful, not ice-filled and not snow-covered, because quite frankly, I'm ready for snow to be gone and the ice too. I've brought in my summer mojo for my message this morning. And I hope that it rubs off on you and gives you a little bit of light spirit. I pray that God's Spirit is in your house today. I pray that as you have a day of rest, I pray that God has touched you and has made himself known to you today in some way. And I hope that I can be some sort of conduit of God for you today. Now, today we have a couple orders of business real quick. First off, a week from Wednesday, we have our first Wednesday night supper, and we're going to have a sign-in sheet today, but we don't have it. So be thinking of what you'd like to bring, and next week we'll have our sign-up sheet to make sure that we're all covered for Wednesday night supper. Second order of business is, just so you know, Thursday is Judah's second birthday. He's coming along with leaps and bounds, and you've all seen it. And he's smart as a whip. I'd say he's got to be at least as smart as a 25-month-old by now. He's really ahead of the curve. But it's going to be an exciting week in the Bowersox household. He's a lot of fun this week and knows his birthday is coming, I think. So this morning, I want to talk about my preparations for Lent. Several weeks back, I started thinking about what, not so much for the church, but what for me I thought I needed to do for Lent. You know, Lent is it's our season for preparing for Easter. It's our season that symbolizes the 40 days Jesus spent in the desert. And, you know, it's preparing us to witness the suffering and the resurrection of Jesus. You know, the Passion narrative goes from being brutal to beautiful in just a couple of days. And we have to prepare ourselves for how we're going to live in light of that. When I try to do this once a year at Lent, just so this time of preparation, I work on something, and I work on myself in some way, and that starts off with, I don't know, a kind of a Sherlock Holmes inquisitive mindset. I have to ask the right questions, or I'm not going to get good answers. So when I look inside, if I want to look at how I grow, or I need to grow, I have to ask good questions. So I try to channel my inner Sherlock. And what I ended up coming up with, sadly enough, was another movie reference. The movie A Few Good Men. Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson. It's a great movie. I wish I could recommend it wholeheartedly, but there's some language in there and all that good stuff. But it's a great movie. And there's one scene in particular there that has shaped my thinking, oddly enough, since I saw it. And there's at the climax of the movie, Tom Cruise, the smug lawyer, has finally got the commander on the witness stand, and he's grilling him. He's trying to get to his involvement, and he says, "I'm entitled to the truth." And Jack Nicholson comes right back at him and says, "You can't handle the truth." And then he gives this great narrative of why he can't handle the truth and why he is just a smug guy who wants to have a sugar-coated truth, who wants to believe what he wants to believe when the real truth is something far different than what Tom Cruise thinks it is. So how that comes into my life is often when I'm trying to ask someone questions or ask myself questions, I often will have Jack Nicholson playing in my mind. And if I say to somebody, "Just tell me the truth," I immediately just cringe as I expect Jack Nicholson to come right back at me and say, "You can't handle the truth." But it makes me think about how I handle the truth. It makes me think about how I'm going to handle what they say to me. I mean, how many times have you heard, "Well, the truth hurts"? How many times have you told someone, hey, tell me the truth, and then walked away licking your wounds thinking, well, I'm never going to ask that person for the truth again? I mean, do we handle the truth well all the time? The truth of the gospel is a truth that's to be handled in some way. Paul was always talking to the churches he's writing to about how they handle what they've been given. Jesus himself, he didn't hand everything to the disciples right off. He gave them bit by bit what they needed. He doled it out as he saw fit. Because, I pick on the disciples a lot, but the truth of the gospel, that's hard to swallow. It's not an easy pill to hand out. It's not an easy pill to take. Jesus himself struggled with the truth of the gospel and what his sacrifice was going to mean to him. In the garden at Gethsemane, what did he pray? If this cup might pass from me. That shows that the humanity inside of him struggled with what the sacrifice was going to mean for his flesh. Doesn't mean he wasn't going to go through with it, but it means he struggled with it. What does he do with this sacrifice he's about to give? What does it mean for him? We Christians today, we know what the truth is. We know what we've been given, but do we strive every day to handle it as we should? Are we asking the right questions of ourselves in order to follow what the truth tells us? We live in a world that thinks they know what the truth is. Like Tom Cruise, they think they can handle the truth. They think they're entitled to the truth. But real quick, I'm not saying that Tom Cruise is the world and Jack Nicholson is Christians. That's not it. But what I'm saying is the world feels entitled. The world feels that they have the rights to the truth. The world thinks that the truth is unique to each person. Well, the truth of Lent and Easter, it can't be earned. It's not unique to every person. The gospel truth is just that. It is the gospel truth. It is the only capital T truth there is. It's not unique to each person, but each person is unique within the gospel, within the truth of this world and of the truth of God and how we go about living in this world to make an impact. The world also thinks that it also thinks that they can ignore the truth. They think that if they go about their ways that ignorance is bliss. Well, being ignorant of the truth doesn't make it any less true. In Matthew 12, it tells us in 36 through 37. It says, I tell you, on the day of judgment, you will have to give an account for every careless word you utter. For by your words you will be justified, and by your words you will be condemned. The careless words you utter. I utter a lot of words in a day. You guys know that. But just think about if you're ignorant to the truth or you're ignoring the truth and you utter a lot of careless words. Matthew tells us that you're going to be held accountable for those. Being ignorant will lead to the opposite of blissfulness. Well, the truth of the gospel is available to all people, no exceptions. However, all people individually must accept the truth for what it is. And that's the truth of life. we have to live our lives in light of what we've been given, in light of what's been given for us. And quite frankly, that means that we have to live a life that is different than what the world tells us. You know, Matthew also says in the 7th chapter, verse 13 and 16 through 14, he says, "Enter through the narrow gate, the difficult way. For the gate is wide and the road is easy that leads to destruction, and there are many who take it. For the gate is narrow and the road is hard that leads to life, and there are few who find it." Man, that's a hard truth. It's kind of hard to handle sometimes, I have to think. So, as I sit thinking about this truth that I hold in my hands, I need to make sure I'm asking the right question. I ask myself the question, in light of the truth of the gospel that I have been so blessed to receive, how am I handling it? Am I being proactive in living my life in every circumstance so that God's life and truth is reflected in me? That question's going to take probably more than 40 days to answer. So I have to challenge everybody this week. I like to make a challenge, you know that. And I'm challenging myself also. I'm challenging myself that I ask the right questions. Sometimes they bring out the hard truths. And I can only ask you guys that as we go through asking the hard questions or asking the right questions, I just challenge you to be diligent, faithful to what the truth of God is as you answer those questions. I pray you God's peace today. I pray you God's warmth. Peace be with you.